Get ready with me, Weird Travel Story Edition. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Charlotte and most people call me Charlotte from Chicago. I am a professional traveler who has been to 55 countries and all 50 US states. Tonight we are getting ready for an event at the French Ambassador's residence here in DC. As a professional traveler, and what I like to call a professional storyteller, I have picked up a lot of crazy stories in my day. So I am starting a new series where I talk about both my own personal travel stories, what is currently happening in the travel landscape around the world, and we're gonna have a good time with it. A crazy thing happened this week, and it actually ties back to the worst flight that I've ever had. April of 2023, I was flying back from the Philippines, and I was racing back to the US to make it back home for Easter. I sprained my ankle on my last full day. I was volunteering at an orphanage in the Philippines, and I was there right up until Easter and then was flying back. I sprained my ankle the last day at the orphanage, and my ankle was black and blue. I have never seen something swell up so much. The way that I was just convinced that this was the end, I was flying Qatar from Cebu to Doha, Doha to DC. This is one of the reasons that I love Flighty, because of this story. I was at the airport in Cebu and I got the notification that my flight was 13 hours delayed. 13 hours delayed. So I went up to the counter and I said, hey, is this a mistake? Because the airline had not notified us yet. I said, is this a mistake or are we really 13 hours delayed? And they said, nope, it's accurate, 13 hours delayed. So naturally that meant I was going to miss my connecting flight in Doha, but the worst part was that it was at night. So we were going to have to go re-clear security and customs to be able to enter back into the Philippines. This was a 787 Dreamliner that was completely full, and they had one person working the customs counter. So by the time I actually made it to the hotel that Qatar was putting us up in, morale was really low and ankle was on fire. I slept for maybe 2 hours and then had to get back to the airport to try again the next morning. Finally board the flight, and at this point my ankle is really bad. I very early into the flight went and notified cabin crew of, hey, I'm a little worried. My ankle is not in good condition, and honestly, I was worried about the threat of blood clots. The cabin crew for Qatar was incredibly kind. They checked on me a lot, and they ended up bringing me ice for the drinks and put it into a rubber glove so we could tie it and I could use it to ice my ankle during the flight. There was one cabin crew member in particular who was super nice and friendly with me because he was working my section. Halfway through this flight, I was trying to get up and stretch and just move around a little bit because I didn't want the blood pooling too much. And this was a 10-hour flight. So I'm standing in the back talking with the flight attendant, explaining the whole situation and how I'm about to be stuck in Qatar on my sprained ankle until I can get on the next flight out. So he graciously said, hey, take my number, message me on WhatsApp if you need anything. He said that he's been living in Qatar for a while, so he can give me some recommendations, and also just said I'm not fully alone in this country as I'm deeply injured. I took his number once I got into the airport, said goodbye, and I messaged him saying, thank you so much, it was wonderful meeting you. And he said, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. This happened to be in the middle of Ramadan, so I couldn't even go eat anywhere. I went to the hotel and I said to myself, I'm either going to force myself to sleep or I'm probably gonna have a mental breakdown. So I slept all day. Also forgot to mention that when Qatar said that they were going to bus us to the hotel, they actually meant they were just going to cram a few of us into multiple taxis. And I ended up being in a taxi with 4 people, 3 of us crammed in the back, both of them named Mike, and they had flown over to the Philippines to meet wives. And it took every bit of self-control. It was just one of those taxi cabs. But the reason this came up to mind this week was because you know how on Facebook that it tries to suggest you to add people, like, oh, you might want to add this person as a friend. And it's usually because you have their phone number. Facebook popped up with, do you want to add this person? And it was this really model-esque photo, arguably potentially AI looking. And when looking at it, I was like, how do I know this guy? It was the flight attendant from my horrid flight. But the reason that I did not recognize him at first, it was an award photo because he had just won Man of the Year Philippines 2024. And what's crazy to me is like, what do you mean that I get to know this information? What do you mean that this random flight attendant that assisted me when I was incredibly unwell, I get to now know that this man won Man of the World Philippines 2024. That's crazy. And I wanted to confirm that this was actually him. So I went back to my WhatsApp messages and I scrolled back to April of 2023. I found him and his WhatsApp photo is the same photo that I was looking at. But it's also just wild how the world is so connected. And honestly, that's the power of social media that I love. Is my toxic trait is that I will meet someone and I want to stay connected to them for the rest of my life. Like, I may never see them again, but I want to know that they're doing well. I want to cheer them on. I want to find out that they got married and had a beautiful baby, or they got that dream job. That, I don't know, I just love people. And the thought of meeting someone and then never having even the option to talk to them ever again is like kind of my worst nightmare. And it's actually funny because I was trying to be good recently and be like, no, it's okay. You can let go of people. You can let go of things. And so I unfollowed this guy that I met in 2019 on a ferry in the Philippines. And I was like, cool. I haven't spoken to him since 2019. Probably never going to speak to him again. He hasn't used Instagram in years. Guess who messaged me this week? Felt real bad. Maybe he got a notification that I unfollowed him. And this is the kind of stuff that I love about travel. So that you meet people that you would never normally meet. As I said, I'm currently getting ready for an event at the French Ambassador's residence. And once at the French Ambassador's residence, I met the curator of the Palace of Versailles. That ultimately led to me getting a private tour of Versailles from the curator himself. Like, I have a mirror selfie in King Louis's bathroom. What an absurd statement that is. All because of travel, all because of my life motto, to make friends in unexpected places. So if this is something that has resonated with you, if you enjoy making friends in unexpected places, if you want to hear more crazy travel stories, you want to hear travel and aviation news, then I hope you'll stick around, because this series is here to stay. All right, here's the final fit check. It is a Mardi Gras event at the French Ambassador's residence. So we got a little bit of purple going. Actually, a lot of bit of purple going. And purple's my favorite color. All right, bye.